Okay, now we're into summer with no snow, or if there's still snow. Alright, you just followed a snow trail. Alright, let's say there's no snow. If you don't know where mainland is and where the sea is, and if you're way inland, where can I use as an example? And then you'll suddenly realize, like I was told once, study the rocks and look at where the black lichen are, and the other side has no lichen. This is a boulder or bedrock. Okay, the sun, where the land gets the most sun, will have the black lichen. And now, where the sun touches the land as it comes up before it gets hot enough, where sun rises, that will have less black lichen on it. We didn't have any equipment at all back then, no navigation equipment. And the snow will melt, the snow that helped you know where you are, but the rocks never go anywhere. If you go to an area where there's lots of black lichen, and even bedrock will have lichen. And if you wrote down 1905, in 1905, on black lichen, scratching it off, using a rock, just scratch. You can still see them today because they grow very slowly. So they can be used as a direction finder. Like we're only looking in front of us, we can only look in front of us. But then we have this knowledge in the back of our heads, because we can keep a lot of information in the back of our heads. I've never gone to school. I don't have a grade, but I have learned these through my own experience in believing them as well. I think this guy is rushing again. No. Something other than lichen. If you go to a land that has very few boulders, fish. In a land where there are no boulders, the rocks have a reddish thing on them. It's where it gets the most sunlight. You can use that as well to see which direction it goes where. It can be used like a last resort to show you what direction it is. And with the snowdrifts that look like tongues, we're always kind of scared of them. They're not really good for traveling on. Especially when we had dog teams, the dogs would trip over them, and the lines would get hooked on those things. So sometimes there's a lot of them, and sometimes there's none. And right next to a rock or a boulder, can be really high with a gully right near the boulder, on the side of the boulder. It'll be like a big hole all around it. Rocks are not very good shelters. The wind goes around them. Yeah, when we were growing up, there was nothing like thermoses. We had to use cups made out of seal skin. They're called Emitter. Just little cups made out of skins. That's what we used, and we didn't have any stoves. But then after I was born in 1942, don't think I'm that old. So I was around when stoves came around. So when Coleman stoves came around. And because snow is always utilized, you can use it as a blind when you go against seals, to stalk seals. Just get a piece of snow, put a hole in it, and carry that little snow block to hide behind when you're sneaking up on a seal. So you can use it as like a blind, a carrying blind. And after we got stoves, Coleman stoves, what we found was that if there is windy area, if it's a windy area, then you would build like the beginnings of an igloo and build a little shelter for the Coleman stove. It's called an Nattaq, which is just windbreaker. And that's where you would have your Coleman stove, in the little snow shelter you made for it. And people would come across those sites and they would know, oh, these people were here when the wind was coming from that direction. And then if you see another shelter that is facing a different direction, oh, these guys were still here when the wind changed to southeasterly. And we would see the story like that and we would believe it. And today we know these things. Like I said, our muscles are not as strong as they were, our bodies are getting old, and some of the things that we used to build are getting harder to build because we're getting older. So you all have to be aware of these true things. How to make a fire. If you can't use the store-bought stuff anymore, then you can use the alternatives. And you can build a shelter. It doesn't have to look like an igloo. That's all for now. Okay, it's summer. Land with nothing on it. Can you come here? Okay, out there, and there's nothing there. Okay, this is rocks that this guy is putting together on a flat area. Behind each other? Tunuano? Okay, the flat land, if you build something on it and make a hole, dig out a little hole, on flat land, you can use that as an overnight shelter. You can make you can use a string or anything to be able to put something over it after, like a tent pole kind of thing, and then put something over it. It doesn't need to be a real tent. If you have some kind of material or something to put over it, then you can utilize plants too at the bottom to use as a pad. If you have no digging implements, you always have the teapot or a little pot that you can use to make a hole with. Anything that you can have. So even if it's a flat land, you can make a little shelter like that where you can overnight. If you don't have a tent, you can make something like that. As long as we have some twine or string. We used to have ropes, thin ropes made out of seal skin that we would bring along. Any little stick can be a tent pole. And that's what we would use inland when we've actually done that. That can save you as well.
Okay. Okay. Any question before we move on to your turn? Okay, no question? You all know everything? Oh, good. Go ahead.
Is it true that when in the spring and year, when all the snow is gone, the ice is still here? If you want to see the direction of the sea, you look at the sky and see if there's dark blue sky, which is a reflection of the ocean. Is there any truth to that? So you know where the edge of the sea is.
Like I said, I'm from the flatlands. If there's snow on the ground or there's no snow on the ground, it will be a big dark cloud over the water. And if we face towards the land, it'll be a lot brighter. That's a very good question. We call it tumunuk, which means sort of like a bluish tone. Sort of like this. If it's really dark, then it's open water underneath that dark cloud. If we're trying to go to the flow edge, that's where we would go towards that dark sky. That's a very good question. Thank you for the question. Most questions have more than one answer. The dark sky over open water, if it's not cold out or if it's cold out, we use it. If we're way inland, like I once had to go through past Annaumanasuarnik. The trail that we followed, these people had gone through a real rocky trail, and we stopped, and we were going through a very dark sky area, and even though it's kind of dark outside, it's even darker than where we are, and it was a little lighter in that direction. So we realized that places where there's a lot of rocks on the ground and little snow on it, it will look like dark sky over open water. It can be very deceptive. Sometimes we assume it's got a dark sky, that there's open water below it. It's not always the case. And once the weather calms down, you won't see very much of that dark cloud over open water. The place where I grew up, they lived in a very rough area. And as spring comes and there's less steam coming out of the water, they would tell us that the real rough ice over there, if you look at the pinkish snow, is where you can find water. Because we lived in a very rough ice area, we had to use that way to show us where the water is. And we were also shown where clouds, like if we go towards Kimmelot, and the clouds that are over the ocean, the clouds will be kind of high and kind of bluish. That's an indicator of what direction that you should take. If there's no snow, when there is too few, when the snow is melting, I didn't get that at all. Jetaloo Kakkee. Kan Jetaloo Kakkee naleo Soloman Awa Kakkee naleo Awa kamabe takatak.
No. Tungune.
Ya atangan lu. Awa katatanga pijak tiga katat Awa Kakkee kalaken.
Tema. Ibu kemarin Mei.
Around April and May, the land, when it has no more snow, it can be dark over it when there's no more snow. And way inland, if there's a lot of it's a real rocky area, it can have a dark cloud over it.
Okay.
You can probably be heard also speak up. Where I come from, we use compasses quite often, but I've been told up north, because the magnetic North Pole compasses don't really work well. True, false, do you use compasses?
I use one on my boat. Yeah. Compasses with little numbers on them. I have a real old one that I still use, just following the numbers. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we just follow the numbers when we use the compass. We were talking about the past before there were compasses or anything like that, how to show direction. Okay, where the compass points. Let's say a cameraman is where the compass points, our magnetic pole.
In the south, it could be like this. In the north, it could be like that. Further close, it could be like that. So it depends on what location you are. In Resolute Bay, it's almost pointing at west. But in here, we're further south. So it's pointing a little bit left to the north. North is up here, the magnetic pole here. So that's how it is. Yes, we use the magnetic emitter.
Answer to your question is yeah. But we didn't really use it a lot. That points north. If we follow that where it's pointing, and then we know a direction where we want it to go, and if we're going through a real rough area or turn because of a point, we can't fly like the crow flies. We gotta make turns. If we're on a flat ice or a flat land, then if there's not too many islands in front of us, then we can just use that to go straight. And then we have to consider the fact that we gotta go around islands and around points. Yeah, we use it, but we gotta be aware of the turns. Those of us who came later, we're a little behind the Greenlanders. They have been using GPS a lot longer than we have. We once had to go to Lichen Lake with someone who was an expert on GPSs. He had not really learned how to use one of these things, and he had been going. We had passed them, like they were in Lichen Lake, and we traveled past them. And through radios, I called Nattaq and asked them, where are the Greenlanders? They were supposed to be here last night, and now we're getting response from somebody else there. So you have to learn how to use these. And then when we met up with the other party, we followed their directions, and they were saying that there's something wrong with the GPS. And their leader told me, there's nothing wrong with the GPS. It's the person that's training you that's wrong. And there were two snowmobiles, and they were on a dog team. We took the dogs and put them on the Nattaq. That expert had gone through the Kuwaitan and gone through the Baffin, the guy from Greenland. And we went up there when it was a whiteout. And we saw that it was too difficult to follow our trail. And the guy kept saying, I'll do it, I know how, our trainer. And I started realizing the sun. It's like we're traveling in the wrong direction looking at the sun. So I told him, I think we're going the wrong way. And he keeps pointing, no, that's the way, that's the way. And then he says, I know where I'm going. We're going because there are too many rocks in this direction. We're going that direction because it's better. And we'll be able to go to nice snow afterwards. And that's what he told us. I would have been very confused if I didn't know the landmarks. We use those technologies.
Picturean mo yung kayo.
Some of the easier ones are being used a lot.
One more question. One more question.